Good morning, everyone, to this session. I'm Manu Fernández. I'm an urban consultant and researcher and founder of Human Scale City. I work basically on the intersection on networked technologies and public life in cities, and that's why I'm happy to be moderating this session, which is about civic engagement and participation, which is probably one of the most challenging topics smart cities have to face today. From this perspective, we can understand that technology is just an enabler for the kind of processes, social processes, and the kind of engagement we should be promoting in our cities. And this is the kind of questions our four presenters will be happy to share with you. As a moderator, I will be to blame if I don't finally accomplish my main goal, which is to be on time with this presentation, with this session. We have, let's say, 1 hour and some minutes, but so the agenda is quite tight, but all of them will be their best to keep to the 12 minutes presentation. It will be one presentation after another, and after this time we will have, I hope, about 10-15 minutes for questions and answers, so we can have an open discussion about all these presentations. And I just, to keep with the agenda, I will just present Dan Parham. He comes from the United States to present a project which is called Neighborland. It's not only a project, but an approach on how to engage citizens in to make our better cities. So Dan, that's your turn.
Thank you, Manu. Hello, everyone. My name is Dan Parham. I'm a designer and co-founder of Neighborland. It's a tool for planners to engage with local communities. So just a quick overview of the team. My co-founder is Candy Chang. Some of you may have heard of Candy. She's been doing great lately. And my brother is the head engineer. We have 2 full-stack engineers. We're a Rails-based platform. And we have some investors that have become recently famous, Evan Williams and Biz Stone from Twitter. Our lead investor is True Ventures, probably best known for WordPress. Our mission is to empower the people to shape the development of their cities. So one of the things I've thought a lot about is just what's going to happen to these 3.5 billion people that are moving into cities globally by 2050. A lot of opportunity for folks like us in the room. One of the things that I think about is just these cities are all running out of space. And as they grow more dense, sustainable development becomes a lot more challenging. And I'm going to give you a quick example from San Francisco. This was a development. It's 35 luxury condos that are right on the waterfront. It's called 8 Washington. And the citizens actually put this development on the last referendum on the ballot, and it was voted down. It was a very low turnout for the election because it was not a national election or a state election. So only 10% of the people in San Francisco showed up, and it was interesting. We were voting on whether or not we wanted to build this building, and it was an interesting project. Again, 135 condominiums for $5 million a condominium. So we have a really big housing problem in San Francisco, and a lot of people saw this as not the solution, even though 50% of the project was public park. And there was it's estimated $60 million net benefit to the Port of San Francisco over the next 25 years. This is a crazy statistic that came out in the paper. $5 million, at least $5 million was spent on both sides of this issue, both for it and against it. And I came away with this with a really simple idea, which is you really just can't buy buy-in in San Francisco anymore. You have to legitimately engage with the residents of the city. You have to ask them What do they want? If you don't want $5 million luxury condos, what do you want on this site? And so if that's the problem, what is the solution? And so we see the solution as being authentic collaboration. So Neighborland's a web-based platform that empowers organizations to collaborate on local issues. It's also a set of real-world design tools that help organizations engage in public space. This is a seemingly very simple idea, but let me break it down for you. What it means is people don't come to the meetings. Like, the problem for the decision maker is the same 5 people show up to the city council meeting or the neighborhood association meeting, and they rant about the issue that they care about. And the leaders of the city don't feel like they actually know what the city wants. So one thing that you can do is engage with people at the farmer's market or on the port itself. And that's what we do with these very simple mobile whiteboards and grids of stickers. So our purpose is to improve the way residents, city leaders, and organizations collaborate. I'm going to give you a case study of our latest project with Greenbelt Alliance. They're a smart growth advocacy nonprofit. Their mission is the sustainable development of the Bay Area. So they're pro-development, they're pro-infill development, and they're also pro-preservation of green space. They've been around for about 80 years. And have had a lot of big wins. And they were looking for a technology platform, and they're out trying to figure out, can we use Facebook, can we use Twitter, should we build our own? And it was at that time that the Knight Foundation introduced them to us. So it's very simple. Here's the board. What would you like to see in Mountain View? People write their ideas. We photograph every idea and put it into the tool. There's a simple landing page that sets up the project. What are the outcomes that Greenbelt's trying to achieve? What's the time frame? We map all the data on Google Maps. We clearly show who's listening. In this case, it's the city council that's listening and the head of planning. All the participants can see each other. They can message each other privately if they need to. Very simple idea is that it starts with a question. In the city is essentially asking what residents would like to see, and then the tool allows you to narrow down and ask more specific questions at specific places. In this case, this is a greenway that runs through the city. Just a quick look at a question page, and then here's the important part. This is what people are actually saying they would like to see in Mountain View. Now, a lot of leaders get really, really scared to have an open and transparent and honest dialogue with the residents. In all of the projects that we've done, the issues that rise to the top are transportation issues, issues of equity, issues of education. And we always say to our customers, it's cancel at any time. If you start getting a lot of input that really scares you, or you feel like special interest groups are taking over the platform, just turn it off. But that's not what happens. What happens is you start to see a very intelligent picture of what the community wants to see in the municipality. So we do some of the other things that we do technically. We tag all the ideas by topic. So if you want to see green-related ideas in Mountain View, you can do that. So we're primarily a surveying tool, but we also encourage people to take action on the issues that they care about. So what you see on every idea page is this really simple panel that will suggest, hey, here's an event you can go to if you really care about bike lanes, or here's a resource. Here's something that happened in the past that you may not know about that influences the policy as it exists today. Here's a petition that you can send to the mayor if you really care about not seeing this development happen. And what's amazing to me is seeing people share those resources, share those events. It's really inspiring. And there's another important point that I sometimes forget to make, which is there's a whole notification system on the back side that notifies people of the key inflection points of the campaigns that are happening. So that we still see that email is one of the most important channels to communicate with residents. So even though we allow residents to enter their ideas, just writing their ideas on the board, which is really the most accessible way, SMS, using Twitter, if you tweet what you want with the right hashtag. We automatically create ideas. All of those techniques are available both on our platform and then also available on the organization's platform itself through our API. So some of the organizations that we've worked with, I mentioned Knight Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation sponsored us as a project originally in New Orleans. We've worked with Twitter as a company, ArtPlace, the city of San Francisco, the city of Houston, San Francisco's planning department, and then a lot of like smaller advocacy organizations. So we've been live for about 3 years. We were only live in New Orleans for the first year. It's pretty amazing. 350,000 people have come in and checked it out. We've had over 1.2 million reads of these ideas. And most importantly, we've had 100,000 ideas, insights, and actions suggested. There's been about 100 projects that have happened because of Neighborland. Not because of Neighborland, because of the people who use Neighborland. Technology doesn't do anything. Technology is a hammer on the table. It's the people who use the technology that have done things like open up transit data in New Orleans. I think we've gotten about 15 miles of bike lanes across the US at this point. So from a scale perspective, we built Neighborland to be available to everyone in the US. And so we're live in 1,700 US cities. And the reason that I came to Barcelona was to announce that we are ready to start scaling internationally. And so if you are interested in what we're doing and how the platform works, you can contact me at dan@neighborland.com or check us out on Twitter. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. You were really brief. Thank you. Well, next speaker will be Hanna Niemi-Hugaerts, if I pronounce it well. She will be presenting another approach, this time about how to use public information services as a way to engage citizens. She works as a project manager for Forum Virium in Helsinki. That's it, your turn.
Thank you. How do I get to the... No, it's okay. How do I get to the back to the view? It's not. Should it go back to the starting? Do you see it go?
May someone help us?
I think I'll maybe press this one. Can you move this a bit? Okay, dear audience, happy to see so many of you here. I'm really happy to be part of this interesting discussion with a very inspiring group of professionals around the world and talk about citizen engagement. As mentioned, my name is Hanna Niemi-Hugaerts and I work at Forum Virium Helsinki, which is a city-owned development company. City of Helsinki owns it, and we develop their new kind of service innovations, digital service innovations, together with the cities, the city and the citizens. And we do a lot of other things related to citizen participation. We've helped to open the decision-making data, for example, in the city of Helsinki, and organize different kind of events like pop-up schools and so forth. But I'm here to talk about the City SDK project, where we are harmonizing application programming interfaces in European cities. And we are doing this work on 3 different domains. One of them is smart participation, one is smart mobility, and one is smart tourism. And I guess based on the session title, you can all guess which one I'm talking about. So I'm talking about smart participation, and especially the Open 311 API, and all kinds of possibilities it can offer us in the domain of citizen participation. So as we all know, in the past, we used to kind of communicate with our cities using different kind of call centers, or maybe even go to the, let's just take it away, go to the contact center, customer service center in the city, or use their different kind of online forms that can be found on the tremendous, huge, monolithic websites that cities often tend to have. But at the same time, the internet has kind of created all kinds of different possibilities for us as citizens and consumers to speak up. And now we are looking at how often all these voices that we are addressing, or opinions we are trying to bring forth, are heard in the other end. Can we actually give feedback that matters? And if we look at the internet as one of the enablers of digital feedback, another very important aspect is the mobile phones, of course, and different kind of mobile devices that we are using almost every day. And if you look at this graph here, you can see that there's very growing need from the municipality and city side to also take part of the mobile time that we all have. And there's 46% of our mobile time goes at this point to the so-called me time, so all kinds of funny videos and entertaining ourselves. But there's already 22% of our time on our mobile that goes to discovering, preparing, and accomplishing different kind of things and aspects. And this is the kind of things we usually want to do with our city as well. And in the future, we think that we will not only buy bus tickets or tram tickets using our mobile phones, but we will also take a very active role as an informant. We want to inform the other citizens if our tram line is delayed, or if there's some other kind of hassles that we face on the way to work or to school. Or we can even check out our children from the daycare using our mobile phones. And there are other kind of approaches to this as well, like in Boston, where there's a digital solution for the citizens to adopt fire hydrants and keeping them clear from snow and ice during the winter. And this, I think, is one of the great examples how these digital tools can really somehow let us connect more strongly with our physical surroundings as well, like very literally, I would say, in this case. So we are all speaking out, we are reviewing restaurants, checking in to different physical locations. But is our voice really heard in the other end? Are the cities listening to things that the citizens want to say? And if we look at the current development, we can really see that not only the citizens are more ready to speak up, at the same time cities are opening up more and more data. And if we look at the other kind of systems that cities have, the development has not really been so fast. Like we have on the open data side, City of New York, for example, has stated that they will open up all their data during the year 2018, the latest. But if we look at this kind of two-way systems, for example, feedback systems and issue reporting systems, the development has not been really so fast. So there are all kinds of different flashy ways to get feedback from the citizens, but often after the feedback is sent, it actually just disappears to this black box called info at. And here we really believe that an open, harmonized API can do a great deal, because it can allow us, third-party developers or the city themselves, to develop different kind of digital apps or services, allowing citizens to send feedback to the city, and actually all the way to the city, not just to some info email address and so forth. And what this Open 311 API, Application Programming Interface, does, it allows sending issue reports on issues like potholes or traffic signs, or only imagination can be limited to what kind of issues can be reported. And you can, as a user or citizen, you can send a photo with your issue report, so you can take a photo of the fallen street sign, you can write a short description and the location details. And this way send very accurate issue report on an issue to the city, and the city can receive it in enough detail to be able to quickly handle it and see if it causes for some kind of other actions. And where the name comes for this Open 311 API, which is actually, the standard is known as Geo Report version 2, it comes from the American call centers where you can call on non-emergency issues, like I previously mentioned, potholes, trash bins, and so forth. And why we really believe this kind of API can make a difference. First of all, it allows us, anybody almost, to develop an app or service to send or for the citizens to provide feedback with. And this way, the citizens, it will result in a lot bigger variety of apps and services. So we don't anymore have to think that where or which part of the city's website we have to go to be able to report on an issue, for example, and which department of the city this issue belongs to. And for example, here we've had with Helsinki, City of Helsinki opened up such API in the spring this year. And we've done a nice pilot in the City SDK project with the Metro local news site. So this way we can actually give feedback to the city as part of getting our daily news dose, for example. So citizen can report an issue, use the Metro external commercial newspaper site to submit it. And city gets the issue report in enough detail to efficiently being able to handle it. If needed, send it to their subcontractor to be fixed. And when the issue is fixed, the happy citizen is actually kept up to date with the status updates of this issue. So there's citizens stay happy in that way as well as they see that city is actually reacting to the issue feedback they are giving. During our work in Helsinki, we've received issue reports from all over the city of Helsinki. And main topics here, all the images that have been sent with the issue reports or feedbacks. And the main topics have been potholes, parking, and parks so far, but also all kinds of other topics. And in our pilot, we actually focused on this very much of the physical infrastructure of the city, because we worked with the Department of the Public Works. And that was in our piloting period, but now we are planning to take it further. And from the city side, citizens have been really happy with this. They feel that somebody is listening to them. And at the same time, like our deputy mayor said, that the city feels that they really need all of our eyes and ears so that we can spot issues more faster and keep the city a safe place to live in. And we are planning to extend this pilot to other domains as well. So maybe we can in the future give feedback on the service level of certain department or so forth, even crowdsource ideas from the citizens. When we use such a standard for this API that can be used in many cities, we not only get all kinds of resources like code libraries, apps that have been created in San Francisco, for example, but we also get the worldwide developer community around it so that we can exchange ideas and not reinvent the wheel multiple times, I hope. On the other hand, the service integration in the city side, whether it's talking about integrating external services or internal services, that's a lot more easier as the SMS tool or the call center can all use the same API. And same goes for Facebook apps. You can create a Facebook app and actually use the API to get the issue reports made in Facebook to go to all the way to the city backend system. It creates new kind of transparency as the citizens can now finally see how fast does our city actually react on these things, what kind of issues are being fixed and how many per year and so forth. And this is very valuable information not only for the community but also for the city itself. They can use this to make more efficient decisions in the future. There's also new kinds of innovations rising from this. One great example is from Boston. There's been this street pump app, and it's using the accelerometer of the phone and the GPS location information and automatically analyzing while people are driving in the city. If they kind of face the pump, they can send it to the server for analysis, and if it looks like it's a bump, there's a report going using this Open 311 API to the city. But if it seems that it's a bit bigger, like some kind of pump to slow down the cars, then it also is registered so that in the future issues are not being sent on that topic or location again. There's also other kind of business opportunities, like I mentioned, our collaboration with the Metro newspaper. There's been a lot of interest from the local media business or news sites who are looking for new kinds of ways to attract people to their site. They have been providing, for example, SeeClickFix has been providing different kind of modules for media sites to utilize and therefore allow their readers to report on different kind of issues, and they also utilize these issue reports as a material for news articles. So win-win situation in that sense as well. So we've had really a lot of positive experiences with the Open 311 API, not just in our project, but also you can hear from other cities around the world similar voices. And that's why I'm also really like advising or suggesting that encouraging people to open up their issue report systems within their city and join the cities in the City SDK project who are bringing the Open 311 API to the cities mentioned here during this year. Amsterdam already has one, and Helsinki, like I mentioned. Then there is Rome, Barcelona, Lisbon, and Lamia included. And we also collaborate with cities outside the project. So if interested, please get in touch with me and let's talk about this more. And also you can find more information on citysdk.eu if you are keen to read more about this topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Hanna, again for being so brief enough. Well, now it's the turn for Dante Ricci. He comes from Washington, and he comes from SIP, and he is responsible for global public services, and he will also show a different approach from his perspective, and also on the way new public services can be imagined and designed. Your turn.
Sure. Thank you for having me. Just think about it. We are at an inflection point. You can read these bullet points. How many people this morning have looked at their mobile phone, their smartphone? And how many have participated in social media since you've been to Barcelona to tell everybody what you're doing? Okay. So all this data is being collected through this smart infrastructure. Mobile to mobile that we heard this morning on the keynotes, the ability to capture geospatial information, the ability to share information on social media, to utilize applications, Open 311, to capture new engagement models for our citizens. The idea here is the ability to open up new avenues and new channels for citizen engagement through new technology enablers and also the will of the people and the openness of the particular government to engage in that discussion and collaboration. So we want to make sure that we don't lose sight of the goal, which is what? To improve our lives, all of us, so we can enjoy life, be healthy, live in an educated area, be able to be safe, and have a sustainable society. So when we're thinking about these different engagement models, I'm always thinking of these things in mind. Making sure that you can increase citizen trust and engagement. Being able to ensure that each taxpayer dollar or yen is spent correctly. To help government serve citizens smarter and better and faster. And to bring in that voice of the unheard citizens. And we have an opportunity to do that and reimagine the citizen experience. There's different ways to come about this through a design thinking process. We've heard from other design thinkers this morning. The gentleman from MIT talked about designers within the information technology realm. And so we have to think about it in different ways and bring about different personas of our citizens to understand what they want, what they need, and what the citizens really would like to have. And there's different ways to do that, different technology enablers. We've heard, of course, different applications. I've broken it out into a few different areas here. So if you think about the ability to give citizens direct insight into how their taxpayer dollars are being spent, you could utilize mobile device management, mobile mobile platforms or a publishing platform to have a one-way feed to the citizens or a bi-directional feed with natural language discussing why things are happening and what's happening with their tax dollars. You could use a multi-channel open 311 platform or a call center or multi-channel interaction center to be able to collect information and also feedback to the citizen what you've done with their tax dollars, how you fixed that problem, who fixed that problem. So you've seen that Citizen Connect app in mobile that we've talked about earlier. We've seen other applications like Speed Bump that we talked about with smoother roads. In this particular case, there's also the ability to garner insight from social media to measure that sentiment, whether it's a direct feedback from the citizen or collecting, as Rio de Janeiro did, with collecting information, understanding the sentiment of specific words, scoring those words, understand with a geospatial locator to understand what's happening in that area. So if maybe there's a carnival parade, for instance, in Rio, and a particular person is on Twitter complaining about the trash, and you know that that particular location of that device is at a certain neighborhood, then you can quickly, flexibly move resources to that particular area. You also want to make open all the data that's available and fit for use. Of course, you have to keep certain data secure, as we know, but other data needs to be fit for use. Let citizen helpers help you. Enable citizens to report on the mobile devices, as we talked before. Open the data for citizen engagement, and leverage analytics to understand exactly what's going on. Visualize it for your city and your decision makers so you can understand how you can help the citizens better. So we've talked about some traditional ways today and some new innovative ways that we collect information and engage with citizens. One specific way that we need to do this is connect the two worlds. Connect the enterprise world, the transactional systems, and the front office systems with that open data. Make the data fit for use to expand the actors that can engage with government so they can have a say, a voice. But the decision maker can have a reasonable understanding of what the real sentiment is and what the true pros and cons are. We need to when I think about it, make sure that we're democratizing the information so that everybody can play a part in the government and engage with the government. Let me give you a few examples. We have about 6 minutes left here. I have 5 or 6 examples. I'll pick a few, and then I'll leave it at that, and then we can go to the next speaker. But if you look about, we've talked about Boston with the Street Bump app and the Open 311. One thing they're also doing is they're linking the day-to-day activities of what they're doing with those taxpayer dollars from their work order management system or customer relationship management system through those different work orders that come through from Open 311 or through the Citizen Connect app. And what they're doing at that particular time now is collecting that information, aggregating that information, and utilizing that to take the strategy that they have from the mayor down to the workforce, out to the edge, to make sure that they're meeting the citizens' needs, and then reporting that back through mobile devices or on their websites through something called Boston About Results. You can look up the particular website. You also have the ability to utilize and interactively communicate through mobile devices, and in this particular case, the Victoria County Fire Authority is leveraging customer relationship management to do something very similar to that, to understand what's going on in the geospatial quadrants as to what the area of operation is and how they can help. And then third, recovery.gov is a website that's, again, ubiquitous to the citizens. You don't need a data analyst to manipulate and massage data for you to see. You can go into recovery.gov, review the information from each U.S. state and how that's aggregated by the U.S. stimulus funds to see exactly what those stimulus funds did as far as creating jobs and what was done in your particular community. So 3 ways with bi-directional feeds or pull feeds or push information. This is an example of Boston About Results. So you can see here we have information in different quadrants in red: transportation, education, treasury collection, public health. What has my city done for me for my particular taxpayer dollar? And how have we taken care of you? So here you have the front screen where you have a specific stat that's of interest. And then you can drive into that particular statistic. So if you look here specifically at the fire, over 86% of permits have been issued in less than 5 days. 3 million visitors have gone to the City of Boston website this year. And you can go on and on and on, parks, etc. When you really drive into it, you're wanting to know from an analytics standpoint or a visualization standpoint how those metrics are playing out. So you talk about that percentage. How did those percentages come about? What is your objective as a particular city department? And of course, you want to have some type of natural language to explain what that objective is reached or not reached. And then you need to have that feedback loop. As we saw with these particular applications, you have to be able to understand what the citizens are thinking with that information and to be able to share it between each other through social media, through email back, etc. Another example is through the Montreal Transit. It could be any transit organization, Barcelona, for instance, where you have your smartphones, your transportation card. The information is anonymized, but they can track exactly how you as a particular rider, what your habits are. They can track what your likes and dislikes are. And they've partnered with particular vendors within the city to make offers on the smartphone according to your GPS location while you're riding in that transit. You get off a bus, you get off a train, you get an offer about that neighborhood, 2-for-1 coffee at Starbucks that day, or the museum is offering a evening concert. So the ability to basically get down and do precision offers on that particular rider's smartphone. Additionally, you get to also offer information to the citizen around different ideas to get more out of that transit experience. Be able to give us feedback on what's wrong. Is the station dirty? What's going on with this? Also, to be able to push notifications to have citizens be able to understand exactly when and where they should be riding. So if they're riding maybe at 8:30 a.m. each morning, you can send a push notification about that particular rider saying, hey, maybe now that we've collected this information about riders in your station, you may want to take the 8:37 train. It's much less filled each day. So being able to help enhance that ridership. Manu, back to you.
Thank you, Dan. Well, we have now the last speaker. She's Patrizia Di Monte. She's urban planning and social architecture professor at the San Jorge University in Zaragoza, and she will show us a great project on how to activate bike and public spaces and how to make people engage in this physical renovation of cities in these kind of processes. That's your turn.
Thank you. Just one thing, I'm going to speak in Spanish, if you don't mind, if you have your translator machine. I'd rather speak Spanish if everybody does have the translator machine. Bueno, como ya ha introducido Manu, esto no es un solar, que en inglés sería This is not a plot, this is not an empty plot. Es un programa de regeneración urbana que se llevó a cabo en el Ayuntamiento de Zaragoza. I see many people without the translator machine. May I know how many people can understand me and follow me if I speak Spanish and do have... I go on. Las ciudades contemporáneas tienen un papel irresuelto constituido por los numerosos vacíos y edificios abandonados en las ciudades. A pesar de la condición de estos edificios abandonados desde hace muchos años en la ciudad de Zaragoza, no había habido hasta ahora propuestas para poder reactivar estos espacios, no solo edificios, sino principalmente solares. Esto, por ejemplo, es un panel que muestra pues, la posibilidad que habría de reactivar los espacios y ponerlos en relación unos con los otros. Habíamos tenido una experiencia anterior en un festival de arte urbano en el cual se habían invitado varios artistas para hacer propuestas para poder dar usos públicos implicando la ciudadanía. Esta experiencia nos ha servido mucho porque sí que nos dábamos cuenta que solo a través de la invitación que se hacía a los habitantes del lugar era posible reactivar estos espacios, aunque fuera solo por usos temporales. Una de las pautas más importantes es la reprogramación. ¿Cómo podemos obtener desde estos espacios absolutamente irresueltos, pues espacios que sean productivos y funcionales para la ciudadanía? Ese es el plano de la ciudad de Zaragoza, del casco histórico, en el que se ven la cantidad de más de 200 espacios degradados y abandonados. La situación en la que están la mayoría de ellos es esta. Lo que nos interesa más que nada en este programa es poder dar un uso temporal a estos espacios. Se puso en marcha un plan de empleo porque uno de los objetivos más importantes era poder crear nuevos puestos de trabajo. Hubo dos, uno en 2009 y uno en 2010, de 800.000 y de 1.800.000 euros. Nuestro objetivo inicial fue el de poder transformar el que es un accidente, según nuestro master plan, o mejor un punto ciego, porque realmente el objetivo de todos estos espacios es el de ser edificado y poderlos transformar en espacios que pudiesen realmente involucrar a la ciudadanía. Tenemos una frase que ha sido muy importante para nosotros: Houston, we have a problem, y lo que nosotros hicimos fue transformarla en Houston, we have a poem, intentando cambiar solamente algunos pequeños elementos, unas pequeñas pautas de la realidad en la que nos enfrentábamos. Eso es el plano de los primeros solares en los que se actuó en 2010, fueron 14. Esa es la situación a la que nosotros nos enfrentábamos. Se empieza con unos espacios públicos y lo que se plantea es a la ciudadanía intervenir proponiendo ellos mismos el uso que había que dar a estos espacios. El presupuesto es un programa low cost, por lo tanto los materiales que se emplean son muy básicos. La idea más importante es la de poder dar a través de estos usos temporales una respuesta a la que son las exigencias ciudadanas y las faltas también reales del entorno. Y otra nota muy importante para nosotros constantemente fue el intercambio con los usuarios y los ciudadanos. Cómo en el espacio público solo haciendo participar, o sea, solo participando en un espacio público, los ciudadanos adquieren su realidad compleja, ¿no? El espacio público. Por lo tanto, en un primer momento ponemos en marcha una importante campaña de comunicación a través de un blog, de Facebook, de Twitter y sobre todo a través de multitudes de reuniones en las juntas de distrito. A estas reuniones llegaban a participar más de 200 personas con las que se decidía el uso que se iba a dar a estos espacios. Se intentan involucrar todo tipo de franjas de la población, desde los más pequeños a centros de mayores. Nuestro intento principal era el de transformar siempre en espacios productivos estos espacios degradados. Una nota importante de nuestra historia, de nuestro cuento también son estas pequeñas emociones que hemos ido registrando y que nos han ido también marcando el camino que teníamos que seguir. Como pequeños espacios, por ejemplo este que tiene apenas 100 metros cuadrados, situado enfrente de un centro de mayores, que llevaban reclamando más de 10 años un campo, una petanca al ayuntamiento, y nosotros de una forma inmediata y flexible pudimos dar respuesta a esta demanda vecinal. En todo esto nosotros trabajábamos siempre con una enorme incertidumbre. Estos espacios realmente tienen un objetivo, el de ser equipamientos públicos, viviendas en su mayoría de las veces, y por lo tanto para nosotros era muy importante poder mantener estos espacios cuanto más indeterminados posibles para que los usos fuesen flexibles, porque la voluntad ciudadana va mucho más allá de la realidad física de un lugar, como nos puede mostrar esta imagen, que es una intervención artística de Mayer López, o como nos puede mostrar esta otra imagen, es una plaza de Zaragoza donde, no disponiendo de un campo de fútbol, los niños pues juegan entre las dos porterías de forma semicircular. Esto significa que ni siquiera un hándicap físico es capaz de poner obstáculos a la voluntad humana. El nombre fundamental porque desde un principio queríamos invitar a los ciudadanos a reflexionar sobre estos espacios. Por lo tanto, esto no es un solar, ya planteaba una pregunta a los habitantes, si no es un solar, entonces, ¿qué es esto? Y nuestra invitación era a que los habitantes lo vieran y lo miraran con otros ojos. ¿Qué es lo que ves o qué te gustaría que fuese este espacio? Parte activa ha sido implicar a los trabajadores, porque todos llevábamos un uniforme también para podernos comunicar con los habitantes, porque era ya un mensaje directo que en las calles se lanzaba. Pequeños espacios transformados y con un uso que, bueno, se acordó con la Asociación de Vecinos y con el Colegio Infantil al lado, un espacio para la infancia, pero quien dijo una vez más que la voluntad no puede hacer que una asociación de tango decida celebrar allí 2 veces al año su festival. O quien dice que en un campo destinado al baloncesto, la asociación de hockey no pueda elegir este espacio para poder celebrar sus sesiones y sus partidos. A lo largo de todo el programa hemos intentado involucrar siempre de forma muy variada todo tipo de franja de edad, pero para nosotros era muy importante poder involucrar a los más pequeños porque ellos representan la ciudad del futuro. Hicimos incluso un workshop de arquitectura colaborando con 5 escuelas, involucrando 100 niños. Ellos mismos, guiados por 20 compañeros, dibujaron estos espacios dándoles la oportunidad de poder expresar exactamente cuál era su voluntad. Otra idea muy importante era la de poder crear conexiones entre todos estos espacios, la interacción y los flujos que estas pequeñas intervenciones de microcirugía urbana podían desarrollar de forma espontánea. Las intervenciones en 2009 fueron de una escala muy reducida, pero en 2010 nos encontramos con una complejidad de tener que abarcar espacios de hasta 5.000 metros cuadrados. Pero para nosotros era una gran herramienta ya que se daba una respuesta a la ciudad no dibujada. Pequeñas propuestas como por ejemplo esta de colocar unas tumbonas, pues a lo largo de toda la ribera del río Ebro no había ninguno de estos espacios. También era un poco un riesgo muchas veces porque el tiempo disponible era muy poco, pero siempre gracias a la participación y la respuesta que se daba inmediata se ha conseguido reactivar estos espacios. Pequeñas intervenciones como esta, colindante a una asociación infantil. Y una de las últimas ideas es la de la transición de los espacios periféricos de la ciudad no dibujada y de la posibilidad que se nos planteaba de poder intervenir y redefinir estos límites urbanos a través de estas intervenciones temporales. Por lo tanto, intentamos escoger también espacios situados en el borde. La mayoría de las veces, siempre según las demandas vecinales, se intentaba transformarlos en espacios productivos también por un tema de mantenimiento. Ese es el plano final de 2010, tenemos 28 espacios recuperados, casi 60.000 metros cuadrados, más de 60 asociaciones y colegios implicados. Uno de los últimos proyectos que llevamos a cabo fue un espacio colindante a una asociación de enfermos de Alzheimer. Por lo tanto, teníamos la oportunidad de crear un espacio específico para ellos. Por lo tanto, estuvimos trabajando sobre la idea de la memoria que ellos van perdiendo. Teníamos también al lado un centro infantil, por lo tanto, la idea común que asociaba estas dos realidades tan distintas era justamente la memoria. Los niños empiezan a adquirir memoria, a adquirir conocimiento, mientras que los enfermos de Alzheimer pues les pasa lo contrario, empiezan a perder la memoria. Por lo tanto, en este espacio, colocando unas pizarras y unos recorridos circulares con unos elementos también de señalética, se ha transformado en un punto de encuentro para estas dos realidades tan distintas y también tan ajenas. Un último punto es la colaboración que hemos tenido a lo largo de todo el programa con multitud de festivales. Se ha realizado En el interior de estos espacios recuperados se han realizado festivales de cinema, festivales de graffiti, festivales de arte urbano, festivales también de colaboración con escuelas. Esta es una de las últimas imágenes que tenemos más presentes porque para nosotros representa la desmaterialización, ¿no?, de la arquitectura. ¿Quién dijo que al final no se puede hacer arquitectura, no se puede construir un espacio sin tener arquitectura? Y unos últimos datos, solo para poderos dar un poco idea de lo que ha representado el programa. Se han transformado 28 espacios abandonados. Bueno, al día de hoy, estamos casi en 60.000 metros cuadrados. Todo esto en solo 13 meses, colaborando con más de 60 asociaciones, porque se han añadido algunas, y creando, lo más importante, 110 nuevos puestos de trabajo, con el coste de 24 euros metros cuadrados. Eso es todo. Para nosotros esta imagen representa un poco como el sueño, ¿no?, de los vecinos que se proyectan en una pared de un espacio que antes no era accesible. Ya está.
Thank you very much, Patrizia. Thank you, the four of you, for your presentations and for bringing to the table different approaches to this big question about how to engage citizens in our cities. Now it's the time for you, for the audience. If you have any questions, even general comments, you can raise your head, and I think there might be a microphone somewhere there. Okay, is there?
Yes, works. Yes, it works. I have a question for Hanna about the CTSDK. If I understood well, the core of the system is the Open 311. Around it have been built apps from different sources. Now, the question, if it is true, the question is, what is replicable elsewhere? Is it the core system? Is it all the apps that you presented? Other apps? Are you creating a catalog of apps? What is the value for the other cities?
Thank you for this question. Actually, like I mentioned in the beginning, I only was able to, due to the time limit and because of the topic of this session, I was only focusing on the Open 311 API, but we are also working on the mobility and tourism related APIs. And we are not really touching the backend systems of the cities. We are trying to harmonize the APIs that are actually accessing either the data or then in the case of Open 311 also allowing sending of these issue reports or feedback and keeping updated on the status of it. So what's replicable is all the apps, if they are developed on open source or so forth, you can utilize the apps in different cities quite easily. And that's one of the kind of reasoning behind the whole City SDK approach, is to make it easier to scale apps from one city to another. And of course, all the learnings, we are trying to be as open as possible on the learnings and the API specifications, guidelines, and so forth as possible.
Stéphane Roche from Laval University, Quebec, Canada. And I have one question for the four speakers, maybe more for the two first. We've been working on public participation, GIS and participatory mapping, planning for almost 20 years, and we realized that there's two main issues. The first is the scalability. And I mean by scalability, the issue scalability. I mean, there's this kind of gravity law. The more the issue is far from the people, and the less the people are willing to engage. So I would like to have your thought about this first issue. And the second one is the sustainability. It's really difficult to maintain engagement through the time, and especially avoiding the NIMBY or Lulu or other kind of noise in this kind of process. So I really want to know how you manage these two issues, and if you have some solution to share with us, I will be really happy to have it.
Great question. The most popular idea in New Orleans after the first year was, I want a streetcar to go to St. Claude Avenue. Okay, it's a $100 million idea. It was way at the top of the list. And Of course, no politician was getting behind this idea at all. What was interesting was that as it became really popular on Neighborland, a transportation advocacy organization called Ride NOLA took interest in it and found a little provision in the Regional Transit Authority's bylaws, which said if you get 1,000 people to sign this petition, then we will submit it for a Tiger Grant to the U.S. government. Okay, well, we had 3,000 people sign within a couple of weeks. Did they get the streetcar? No, they didn't. What was interesting about it was we had 3,000 people sign it, we had 30,000 people take a look at it and get interested in it. It built the capacity within a group of people who had never been connected before around a transportation issue to do two things. One was support the local councilwoman's bill for a new tourism bond to pay for that streetcar, and that's live. So we haven't gotten the streetcar yet, but the policy is now on the table. And the second point was it was the same group of people that came around that issue that worked together to make transit data open in New Orleans. So I'm a big believer in connecting people around the issues that they care about. It's really important. And on the sustainability question, this was a big point for Candy Chang, our co-founder, from the very beginning. I wanted to close ideas. Like when we made them happen, I wanted to put a flag on it and said, we made it happen. You don't need to comment about this anymore. Let's keep going. But of course, the biggest issues take a long time to actually solve. And there are wicked social problems that come up on Neighborland all the time. And Candy was right. We should leave the threads open. And what we do as a culture is we make progress. We don't finish things, especially the most important things. We make progress on those issues. So that's my answer.
Yeah, in Finland, we have an initiative, Open Ministry, who is kind of targeting that kind of when the citizens want to gather together and bring up some topic that they find that is important, and they actually not only offer the digital platform, but they also offer a kind of help for how should you what's the correct way to address these things in the political discourse and so forth. So it's partly about digital solutions, partly about just getting more people involved. But I think one of the key issues throughout all these is that it actually, if you engage people, that it actually should make also a difference. You can't always get the streetcar maybe, but that it has to be transparent and clear, like what are the procedures behind it. And that's why one of the, this goes behind my topic of Open 311, but we opened up the decision-making documents and data in Helsinki. So in the municipal level, you can actually easily get alerted if certain topic that you want to follow is addressed in the political procedure, because that's kind of the fastest way. It's one thing to start up your own initiative and another thing to be right on time to comment things when you can still comment them, because often people just, they don't know about these possibilities. So I think that's important, that it actually makes a difference.
Hi, my name is Megan Davies. I'm from Stellenbosch in South Africa, and my question is general to all of the speakers and relates to how applications such as yours might be applicable in developing world contexts like my own town, where access to smartphones and internet is quite unequal. And I struggle to see how this would facilitate wide and diverse engagement in my own town. Thank you.
I'll take a shot at just answering that. This is not a one-time event. Now that there's all these new technology capabilities out there, we're not just going to turn on the switch. As we've said before, I think it's a progression. And I was actually in New York City last Wednesday night talking to somebody in the political landscape there, and basically there's all kinds of things that they want to do, but the infrastructure isn't there, even in New York City. It was talking about, we were talking about the Montreal Transit example, and they don't even have Wi-Fi in all the specific locations. So infrastructure needs to catch up. So we have to have the basics. It's not a one-time event, it's a progression, and we have to have the basics. So hopefully we're creating some some thoughts in everybody's minds today to start collaborating, think about different ways we can bring this type of technology to austere environments where there's lack of communication. There is some capabilities where you don't have smartphones, just to answer a little bit more tactically, where you could have offline capabilities and then create something like a Citizen Connect app where they can type in something or take a picture of something and then load it when they do get internet access somewhere else. So there's those different types of things. And then, of course, the back-end system, a lot of people don't like to talk about the back-end systems, but a lot of times the back-end systems, you need to have some type of synchronization and priority once all these things come in from the offline environment. So we've worked with that quite a bit in military environments as well as public sector environments, where you have to do some syncing and prioritization of these things that are offline in austere environments or lack of areas where you have lack of communication.
Yeah, in the context of Open 311, there has been, for example, this Textizen, so SMS-based option for providing issue reports. You can offer public urban screens through which you can provide issue reports and so forth. So there's always possibility for somehow low-tech solutions as well.
Nosotros en nuestro caso teníamos como dos niveles de acción distintas porque se trabajaba en barrios con un margen de degradación social muy alto, por lo tanto casi hubiera sido un handicap para nosotros, ¿no? Un nivel demasiado alto de tecnología. Por lo tanto funcionábamos mucho más con reuniones y asambleas en juntas de distrito o en los colegios o directamente en los centros de la gente con la que colaborábamos. Era mucho más directa la relación. También trabajábamos en áreas homogéneas, muy bien identificadas, por lo tanto no había tanta dificultad. Funcionaba muy bien el blog y bueno, Twitter y Facebook, pero realmente para nosotros, o sea, como más hemos conseguido involucrar a la ciudadanía ha sido a través de las asambleas. Y la verdad que funcionaba muy bien, porque era mucho más directo y era plural y era en contemporánea. Tampoco disponíamos de mucho tiempo para poder, digamos, hacer más abierto, ¿no? Acelerar un poco más los plazos.
Okay, sorry, we're running out of time. Sorry, there is one word asked somewhere there. Yeah. I know you were waiting before the other ones. I'm sorry, we ran out of time. She was waiting for the last question.
Well, thank you, Manu. I am Mara Balestrini from Intel. Thank you to all the panelists. That is really cool. I have some concerns regarding trust issues. The world's been shocked by Edward Snowden's revelations on how the NSA is using all this data to basically spy on a lot of people. And a lot of your apps rely on data gathering in order to function, exactly like Street Bump and things like that. So I wonder how transparent you are regarding the data you are using and what you're using it for, and how much you think this is going to be an issue and it's going to bring issues regarding trust issues and engagement in the long term.
So all of our data is it's JSON data. It's open. All of our data is open. So just from a format perspective, I mean, our data is open, and our clients, whether they're a city or an NGO, when they sign the license with us, they agree to that. And I think having worked closely with Evan at Twitter, and in talking about the power of when you have a highly engaged network of people and you have open data and what's possible in that way, that's the sort of problem that we're trying to solve. Is let's have that same kind of openness and transparency about local issues and at the scale of place. And could that data be could it be used in a nefarious way by bad political leaders? The answer is yes, it could. But we feel like the openness and the transparency of the data, ultimately, what I've seen it do is really force nefarious political leaders to change perspective or, in some cases, change policy. So one of my favorite Neighborland example I wanted to tell the story today was changing the laws. Like, what laws have we changed? Well, it's interesting. That's a whole presentation that I could do on here are the laws that people in Neighborland have changed. It's what I'm most proud of our work.
Yeah, we have the very similar approach. Even the mayor of city of Helsinki actually said that our approach to these issues is to be open up data, be transparent, and same goes for the issue reports, that unless there's some kind of privacy issues that people's names or like other kind of personal data is included in the issue report, then we don't publish it. But for the rest, all the other issue reports you can read them via the API.
I should actually make that point. All of our data is salted, and for the input methods like SMS, we don't share any of that data with anyone.
Yeah, it really comes down to policy. With the transit agency that I mentioned before, and there's a couple other examples, you have to get a lot of legal people involved to make sure that the information is not only just anonymized, but also separated out. So one person can see information A about a particular individual that has a ridership card, but may not be able to see information B. You don't want the citizens to feel uncomfortable with that situation. And so there is a balance. It's a risk that several different political organizations have to take as far as understanding what that security is versus the openness of that particular data and the ability to see what that particular individual is doing or following a particular individual. So that there's a lot of legalese and policy that you have to go through and discussions with the city lawyers to be able to really come to a concrete solution that allows you to keep the risk mitigation down as small as possible.
Okay, well, this is the end. Thank you for speakers for your contribution. Thank you, the audience, for your time. Well, see you outside all these days. Thank you very much.
Thank you.